Nick, these are the times in social media I love seeing these posts where people are really looking out for real help and they go, listen, I just received some body work done to my car. Well, just a little body work and got the car back and was told they could not wash it with something that had wax in it. Go, cool. This is a different
Mhm.
question.
Yeah,
It's a different question than we've seen on some of the other posts. And you go, cool. I like this. So he wants to know what do we use to recommend to wash the car that doesn't have wax in it. Usually uses X, Y, and Z, but he did see that they have some different wax type stuff in it. Now, here's where I think people get confused about that question. Is it, the old traditional paste wax or cream wax? And then people have soap that then they just squirt a bunch of wax into the bottle, like there's that amount of wax in the soap. So we got to start there first off, and the
for sure.
education of what is wax inside of soap.
Yeah, well,
It's not to that level.
we used to. I mean, I think everybody's seen like a wash and wax, right? Old school product, and I mean, there is some of that. If you look at our ceramic snow product, that'd sort of be the modern, wash and wax type of product, except it has ceramic type protection in it. A little bit more robust than old wash and waxes, and wash and waxes can get really strange because the cheaper that they are, sort of the more weird interactions you can get, sort of a soap scum look, something you're like, man, there's something on my car, but I don't know what it is. But also, let's be fair about body shops. A little dramatic to be like, don't use a soap that has some wax in it. It's like, but it's not that serious. Okay.
And that's sort of where I was going with both. Like, it isn't like they're dumping somebody that's going to make that old school wash and wax like you're talking about. Not like they were dumping in loads of carnauba wax, gallons of wax in the soap. You know, it's something else that they're trying to put in to give it a wax style behavior.
Yeah. And so if you look at our lineup, foam wash, cleanse, whatever one you want to use, whatever situation that you're in, those would both work great. There's going to be no adverse reaction. There's nothing in there but just great surfactants and cleaners. But also, you have to realize, and I think a lot of times we see this in the vinyl wrap world and the PPF world, that people just say stuff that's been said for generations. It's like,
Yeah,
don't
great
use a
point.
wash and wax. It's like, okay, man, like you fixed the front bumper. A wash and wax isn't going to ruin body shop work. That's just not going to happen. But it's been said for a very long time. So that person at the body shop repeated it to you, which is what, the 5,000th time they've repeated it to somebody who brought up, taking care of their car when they get out of the body shop. Probably has swirls everywhere from where the body shop did the work. And buffer trails everywhere, but he's worried about your wash and wax. So, look, do you heed their advice? Yeah, you don't want to have a situation where you have to go back to him and say, I screw something up. So just use something like foam wash or cleanse and call it a day.
This would be the time though. I'd probably go, hey, I'm more of the cleanse. I'm gonna lean towards cleanse on this moment. For I want to go ahead and make sure to get anything off that if somebody's already been working on my car, I don't know. And you go, well, okay, wasn't foam wash gonna clean the car? It is. It is. But I always want to think of, hey, listen, think of foam wash as like baby shampoo that you use on your baby, right? Like it's super gentle, it's super soft, and it's not going to be as great on your if they've got grease all over. Maybe to
Yep.
your point, because they're not always so great at cleaning everything off that they put on. If maybe somebody tracks them or maybe somebody did so this is the time I'm going to go ahead and like, let's go ahead and get it back. Let's go ahead and get some cleanse on it
Yep.
and let's get it all cleaned up.
Yeah, the first thing I would actually advise people to do is look for overspray. The minute you go to a body shop, the one thing you
Mm,
got to be concerned about is
great point.
overspray.
Great point.
So that's where cleanse comes in. If the overspray is caught quick enough, it's minor enough. Something like cleanse can take off some minor overspray, right? And help and your pressure washer kind of washing that away. We've seen that a lot on vehicles that we see immediately after a body shop. Or you might be able to identify, oh wow, my whole roof is covered in overspray, right? Like you and I did a vehicle. If people go look at the gray Mercedes that we did a claying vehicle, a clay video, excuse me, on, was exactly that. It was a body work, pretty minor body work, it seems, and there was overspray everywhere. They didn't mask off any of the car. They just spot treated it and said, let's spray it down, and it was everywhere, right? So yeah, I love the idea of cleanse, but also, you always want to heed the advice of the body shop or the painter or whatever they did. But you also, coming from us, you need to realize there's a lot of outdated information that, especially those old grizzled vets at a body shop, have just been saying for generations, and just take it with a grain of salt.
Ain't no reason to change it, right?
Yeah.
Ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep
Yeah.
slinging
They're
that
like, there's
puppy,
no
right?
such thing as ceramic coating. It's like, no, there's a ceramic coating, dude.
All right, so I know you can, I can. I think most people that have been around a while, they can remember a time where they were doing, is that 1 or 2 cars a day to doing 3 to 4 cars a day to doing 8 cars to 10 car, right? You can whatever number it is that there's always this moment that then you level up to the next, or you do a little bit more. Okay. So we got a question from somebody doing 2 or 3 cars a day. And he's going to go say, this is my average, and he's wanting to know what he can do to shave time off of these to get up to do more, right? And I love where he goes ahead and says, "Hey, I want to go ahead and admit I don't have an air compressor." Might be the number one, right? Like
Sure.
might be if you want to shave time off and you don't have an air compressor. Listen, Nick loves a tornador. It's his
Mm.
favorite thing to use. He swears it speeds up carpet cleaning.
Yeah. Somehow I got my carpets really nice without a tornador. I don't know how that happens. Uh,
So besides an air compressor, what do you think? Oh, what
well,
do you think another
actually,
way to
actually, I would say before I ever, I mean, air compressor is great. That your tools, that kind of stuff, that all matters. I'd look at just my process before anything. I'd look at how many times am I walking back to my truck? How many times am I walking around my shop? How many times am I? It's pretty easy with the cell phone now. Get a little tripod, set it up, watch how many times you forget something, or you have to get out of the car if you're doing an interior and go get something out of the back of your truck, and those minutes start to add up. But the other thing is it time to hire? It's pretty hard just to do general detailing and talk about going from 3 and 4 cars a day to going to 8 cars a day. That becomes a manpower issue, right? If you don't want to do that, then you need to figure out, how do I charge more for the 3 to 4 cars before I try to jump to 8 cars, right? Because my quality is going to go down. And we're, again, guys, we're not talking about paint correction and ceramic coating. This guy's asking probably a general detailing. How do I do a basic
Yeah.
interior, basic
Hmm.
exterior? And again, great way to start your business, great way to grow, great way to get some experience, learn how to talk to customers. And so I think one of the things that we have to look at here is it actually possible to go from 3 and 4 a day to 6 to 8 a day without adding a team member? Because I'd find it pretty hard. Because if you're talking about, you need an air compressor like he does, that means he's doing some beat up interiors. He sees a need for, I need an air compressor, and I probably got some dog hair, probably 1 or 2 cars a day. So you're gonna find it tough. Bodies is what changes things. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily always just a tool.
Absolutely right. You're right. I was staying in the actual moment, and when you mentioned process, and he's talking air compressor, I'm going, okay. So is there a time that I know you don't like the tornador, but we do like direct air. I think you can speed up. You can clean an interior with a brush. You
Sure.
can use the scrub monster like we have, and you could scrub monster and you could brush into the parts. I do think though it is faster brush versus the air compressor direct air. I think the direct air is going to be faster
Oh
than
yeah,
the
no question,
brush,
no question. Yeah, no
right? So
question.
so there are things like that that can be done, right? Like
Yeah, but
uh
you're talking about
I, I
trying to add another 2 vehicles to your day. I just don't think an compressor is gonna be like, life changing, where you're gonna add 2 or 3 vehicles on top of what you're doing now. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying sometimes, what people wanna do is they wanna grow, and they don't wanna add a bunch of expense. Okay? That's what it sounds like to me a lot of times. And I'm not saying this guy, I'm just using that as an example. There's going to be added expense, and it's gonna be a lot more than just an air compressor. and you almost take a step back in that first level of growth financially because you're bringing team members on. And so I would always implore people, if you're like, hey, I really kind of have 3 or 4 cars a day all the time, try bumping your prices up before you try to go to 6 cars a day. I mean, that's where I think a lot of people kind of mess up is like, if you're consistently booked, you need to raise prices before you do anything else. Because if you raise prices and it's successful, just remember you're going to be in a situation where now it's easier to hire. You can pay that person more, there's more wiggle room, all of that kind of stuff. So, too many people skip to how do I do more cars instead of I have a lot of cars, how do I charge more for those cars? Therefore, making it easier for me to make a living if I want to stay on my own in self employment. But if I want to build a business, now I have more room to pay people properly when I hire them.
Hmm. And if you go back to your process talk and putting the video camera, I love that idea too, because I think of now when as you talk there about hiring, I go, I bet you so many people would also be really upset with somebody else that took that long on a vehicle.
Oh,
And they'd
100%.
probably go, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that. And you go, if you take Nick's advice, you do the video camera, you could actually learn to start chopping out things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it will make it a lot easier to quote unquote train somebody.
Yeah.
Here's the fun one that I always, and it's we're probably the same. Most of us are always the same, right? But the question will go, well, what do I train them on? What do I teach them to do?
Yep.
Oh, wheels and tires first, always, right?
Yeah.
Like always.
Yeah, you gotta do I mean, you gotta get the basics, but anybody that's hired for a long time and then looks at when they hired their first people, because that's usually a failure. Let me take the suspense out of it. Whenever you first start hiring, you're going to be not very good at it, right? You're gonna go through growing pains. You gotta be willing to go through those growing pains. I would say 9 out of 10 times, you frustrate people because you don't have a great process. That's the reason a lot of people quit. Now, I'd say there's 2 reasons. Number 1, you don't pay enough, right? That's number 1. Number 2, people get frustrated because you keep picking on them, but you don't realize that you don't have a great process. So you then can't relay the great process, can't make them feel comfortable. The reason we start people on wheels and tires is we have a direct process. This is exactly what you're going to do. Do not do another thing besides that. And we can just lay it out to them. Could I have done that 15 years ago? No, I hired and told I can tell you right now, it wasn't that clear cut. Okay. So those are the things now to get in line. But I really find it hard to believe with travel time or even if you're in a shop, man, 3 or 4 basic good details, pretty good day. I mean, that's a pretty solid day. The thing that
Yeah,
you're just going to grow to 6, 7, 8 cars by yourself. I'm not saying it can't happen, but we're talking about doing real detail cleanups, not just, light maintenance, 2 different things. I think it's pretty tough.
agreed. All right, quick question from Christopher. He's been wanting to be off at, the weekend to coat his truck. If for those of you that around here, you ain't had a weekend where it hasn't been raining. So we'll get to that question here in a minute also, because this is what he wants to know, right? This is what we're going to get into. But this weekend it was raining here, right? We'll get into this question for a second. This weekend it was raining. So did not get to do my early Sunday morning wash and went to go do it in the afternoon. I was accused of being crazy if I went out and washed my car while it was still raining outside.
Can you bring it in the garage? You got no garage room?
Yeah, it's in the garage.
Okay.
But it's crazy that
Yeah,
I would
no.
wash it and then we're going to go drive in the rain. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
Easter. We're going to
Yeah.
get dressed up. We might as well wash our car too and show up as best we
Hey,
can,
did you get
right?
in your Sunday best?
You better believe it.
Oh, look at you. Cleaning up
Look,
well.
I had collar shirt and everything.
I'll look. A lot of people talk behind your back, Marshall. I always say he'll show up to a party proper. You know what I mean? No, I mean I kind of have the same belief as you, man. If that's my schedule, I like to stay on the schedule. Yeah. I mean,
Is
eh,
it going to get dirty again? Yeah, but we got what was dirty clean.
yeah. Look, it, the Tulsa thing you introduced me to, which still blows my mind, is people think rain cleans your car out there.
Absolutely.
So I gotta
Absolutely.
believe that you're so rare out there, people don't know how to talk, you know, cleaning your car out there. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, I bet that people look at you like you got 3 eyeballs when you tell them, "Yeah, I just cleaned this up before we came here." "What? The rain will clean it off."
This wild behavior here in Oklahoma.
You ain't
It's why
lying.
people should keep flying
Yeah,
over.
it's a
Don't stop.
flyover state, we try to tell you.
Fly over. All right, but so he wants to coat his truck, and it's supposed to rain, which it did here for weekend of Easter. It rained on and off all weekend, as we talked about. Should I should I wait, or will I have any issues? Is sort of basically his question.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a place to keep it dry. It's supposed to rain.
yeah,
So basically, let's set it up. I'm not a pro going to somebody. I'm not going to go say, "Hey, can we
sure.
do this?" I'm going. Listen, I got to put some Uno on my car, and I got to put some dose. Got to put some tray. Whatever. Got to stack it. And tomorrow, there's a high probability it's going to rain. Maybe even later today. It's got to sit outside.
Yep.
What do I do?
Yeah, I think this is if you're somebody just working on your own stuff and you can wait, just wait. You're gonna get a nice weekend. I don't know when you're gonna get a nice weekend. Maybe it's a couple weekends from now. If you're like, "Hey, look, I'm booked. I gotta travel for work. I got family stuff. It's gonna be 2.5 months before I can get to my truck," then I'm probably taking the risk. And I'm gonna use a lower solid coating. So the one thing I wouldn't do, knowing my truck's gonna sit outside, it's not the worst thing, but higher solid coatings take a little bit more cure time. Okay. And I don't know the weather in this guy's neighborhood, but we got cool this weekend, right? We got cool all last week. Saturday was pretty cool. Then we bumped back up to the 80s on Sunday. So had I coated the car, like let's say Friday night, dude, it was 38 degrees Saturday morning. You know, that's not going to cure very fast. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to cure, but you got to realize temperature plays a role here. And now you're playing with fire of, okay, I got to watch it rain. Then I got to take some Eco One. I got to get the rainwater off. And I go, if you can just wait a week or two, then just wait a week or two. Okay. It's not the perfect solution. I get it. You want to get it done. But if you have no choice, slap stack or Uno on there. It'll be cured pretty quickly, and then just go out there with Eco One and get the rainwater off of it.
Yep, but it's a great point there. Like you should go down to the stack or the instead of the high solids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and by the way,
great
that's
point.
that's just coating technology. Okay,
Hmm.
the higher solid I go to, the longer it takes to cure. Okay, and now we're not talking it's going to take a whole week to cure. That's a little bit of an outdated thing. When we say, "Hey, don't wash your car for a week," people are like, "It takes a week to cure." It's like, no, man, you just want to let the coating kind of do its thing. Set up on the car, just leave it alone. It's like what you tell somebody at the car show, stop wiping your car. Okay, just relax. Let a little dust be there. You'll be fine. And so I think it's just what I would tell people is nice weather's coming. If you're going to have some time, don't push it on a weekend you don't need to. I know it's hard for a lot of us. I mean, I'm kind of hard headed that way. I want to do it when I want to do it, but yeah, if you can wait, wait.
So, and I waited till later in the afternoon, right? Like I said, and got it washed in the afternoon. At the party though, while I was dressed for success,
What'd you eat? What'd you eat at the party?
black pants, white shirts, like the Blues Brothers. That's the way to do
No,
it,
I said,
right?
what'd you eat?
Oh, the brother-in-law picked up ribs, picked up some brisket, did barbecue. So pretty decent. Not bad.
Okay.
Not bad.
Don't have a
Yeah.
barbecue in the backyard. All right. I mean, that's not a lot of effort on Easter. I'm just saying it's
They
pretty
didn't
important.
ask me to cook it.
You
I
know,
was okay.
you know.
I didn't have to do a thing
Well,
except
no,
show
I
up and feed
look. You
my
can't. You
face.
can't have somebody else cook at your crib. I mean, you can't. I
Oh,
get.
they've asked me before.
Oh yeah, I
Trust me.
know. I believe it. No, trust me. I've been there. It's like, look, man, you got to learn how to do some stuff.
So while I'm there trying to feed my face with ribs,
Hey, white
got to
shirt
feed.
definitely got some sauce on it.
Of course.
100%.
I mean, my own fault, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody goes, "Why wear a white shirt?" And you go, "Listen,
Look,
why
I
not?"
wanted to look like I was knocking on doors on Easter Sunday.
Minus the tie and the bike, huh?
Are you prepared for Jehovah's return?
So I did get asked some questions, which is fun, right? You get asked the question, "How's business?"
Yeah.
Solid question, man. Solid. Appreciate it. Yeah, things are. You don't have. You and I, we agree this. We're not the guy to go. It's great. Like everybody, how's business? Great.
Yeah. I tell you what, don't see
Okay.
that on the news though. I tell you what, for all the great people I've met, they're like, everything's great. I'm like, I don't know, man. I see a lot of angry people online. The news seems pretty angry. I don't know. Hope everybody's doing well, but I see a lot of layoffs too. So I don't know.
Ah, so we had a little talk about that, but then they wanted me to come look at, which was awesome. It was 2009 F-350 that they bought for their son in high school, an '09 with just over 100,000 miles on it.
Yeah. Nice truck.
Big
I didn't
diesel
I did not
beast.
get that for my 16th birthday. I can tell you that.
No, I can appreciate there was an '09 and not a,
Sure. Hey, look, I'm
2019
I'm
or
cheering for the guy. It's
2024.
way better than what I got. Good for you, bud.
Yeah. Didn't start on the way out, so had to get some help.
Yeah. Already got a battery problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they wanted me to look at some carpets, and they wanted to know if I could clean them for them, right? And I was like, "Listen, I'm not."
Well, you are a
Nick just
pro.
put out
You
a
are a pro.
video. We just talked on the last episode, right? We can't keep beating this horse. Go
Yep.
use enzyme, right? But he used this term, and he goes, and then I go and extract it out. And I'm like, "Whoa, how'd you get that term?" Like, interesting.
Can't
I
start your
tried to
car,
talk.
but you know about the extractor.
Right. It's interesting. This is all the fun times that we just go, wait,
Yep.
extract? How'd you hear that? No, 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 don't use extractor
That
because
sounds like a YouTube search. How to clean my car
oh,
carpets, right? I mean,
doesn't it?
and like I said, that's something for all of the prosumers that listen to us, the elite level DIY guys and the pro. You've sat at a party with rib stains like Marty and been like, yeah, I can tell this guy next to me has watched a YouTube video on how to clean his car, how to detail his car. Sometimes you can even guess who they watched. You know what I mean? You can hear terminology like, oh, yeah, I can probably, tell you the two or three people that you watched. And other times you go, hey, man, at least the guy tried. That's probably where you fell, right? Hey, at least the guy tried. Uh, but again, we would kind of say this, and I think we had a guy here in the last couple of days share his first use with Enzyme Incomplete in the system. And I'm seeing a lot of questions about this in other groups. Guys, just trust me when I tell you, stop with the whole trying to figure out how to neutralize carpet. I don't care if the system's already done for you. It's outdated.
Hmm.
Throw some enzyme down, let it eat away the things it eats away. Take for this kid, he takes a rag and he takes some enzyme, he's going to improve 90% right there. He's not going to worry
Hmm.
about an extractor or how it works or using it for the first time. I mean, you imagine the soaking that those carpets would get the first
Exactly
time
right.
using your
Like that's I was like,
extractor.
whoa, 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 my guy. No, no, no.
Yeah, like, look, man, I don't want to make extractors sound like it's landing on the moon. It's not. But I tell you what, for a guy that doesn't do it for a living, I wouldn't be messing with an extractor. If you got a steamer
Vacuum
at the
or
house,
towel.
yeah, I mean, if your parents for this kid happen to have a steamer that they bought once upon a time for around the house, maybe. But like
What
at
about an
the
iron?
what's that?
Put a towel over an iron? Oh,
No, just j we do have a simple video. I hope people go watch it. Like I said, oil, grime, grease. I specifically did it on my own vehicle on a light interior. Just throw some enzyme down, use a towel, use a brush if you have to, but most people don't need to for this type of situation. This is not a professional. You don't want to send him down this rabbit hole. And that's probably what you felt sitting there talking to him like, hey, man, just calm down. Grab some enzyme, grab some complete, and just keep it simple for yourself.
and the part that I can appreciate, and I think most of us can appreciate, is that he didn't try and do the, hey, now that I've done this, what do I do to save it? He did ask opinion before he started.
Hey,
I
that's
appreciate
pretty
that.
rare. So
Yeah.
let me give you my Easter weekend. I didn't have any slacks and a white shirt on. I'm not that fancy, but I'm at my house. I hear the knock at the door. Which, by the way, getting a knock at the door these days is kind of a weird experience because people
Yeah.
don't really like
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
over as much as they used
Mhm.
to. So I'm like, I don't know why. It must be like an age thing. You're like, "Who the hell's at the door?" That's like the first thing that comes into your head. It's
Get off
gotta be
my lawn.
yeah, it's gotta be a stupid age thing. I don't even know why you think it. It's like, "Yeah, dude, people come to the door. What do you care?" So, it's one of my neighbors. I don't know him, but, he's a wave neighbor. "Hey, man." So it's been 5 years of, the head nod, the peace sign, those kinda neighbors.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so and that's the kinda neighbor I am, for everybody wondering. I love the wave and going to my house
We're surprised you
unbothered.
even wave, Nick. Let me just say it.
What's that? What'd you say?
Surprised you even wave.
Oh, no, I'm big wave. Look, by the way, just so everybody knows, all my mobile guys, every car that goes by, they have to wave. Like, if I'm there and I don't see the wave, it's like, "Hey," we wave at all the neighbors. Get a lot of business off
You
that, boys.
listen, you grew up putting 2
Yeah,
fingers up off
yeah.
of that
I
that
grew up when
handle
Jeeps
when
meant
you
something, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
you grew up throwing
Um,
that Jeep
we
away.
didn't
You
have
just
we didn't
used
have
to.
ducks, okay? We had the peace sign. So, he comes to me, he goes, "Hey, man, I wanna show you my vehicle. Got something going on." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Got a really nice Navigator, only a couple years old, you know? Always does the back end. He's one of those guys, backs in the driveway, so you think he cares,
Oh,
you
okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I go over there and I'm looking at the car and I'm like, "Oh my god, this thing is" and I mean hammered, hammered. And I'm like, "Oh." So, for whatever reason, I zoned out a little bit looking around the car. I didn't realize he was talking about these 3 scratches on the door. So I thought he was talking about the overall shape of the car. I don't know what it was. That's on me. Okay. Zoned out, started going into the detailer
Shock.
brain,
Maybe
going,
you were in shock.
I was like,
Like,
oh man, this thing's only a couple years old. And he bought it brand new. The one thing I notice about my neighbors is not what tree they took down, but what car they drive, where it's parked. That's just the way it is. So at the end of it, he's like, "So can you take these 3 scratches?" And he must have asked me like 3 times that I didn't hear him the other 2. And I'm like, "Oh, that's all you want done?" He's like, "Well, why do you say that?" And I'm like, "Let me look at the 3 scratches." And now I'm like, "Oh shit, I wasn't listening properly here." So I look at these 3 scratches pretty deep. I go, "Look, man, I'm gonna have to sand those to get them out, to be honest with you, and it's gonna look real goofy on your door." I said, "Because the rest of the car, you see all this stuff," and I start pointing to all the defects, and there's a lot of them, fellas. Like, there's a lot of them.
what was it like a bunch of like bug splatter that's stuck there and like tree sap and
Well,
like
so
dings
a
and
lot of
rock
our
chips
neighbors
and everything?
have, pools and birds will try to come in the pool and,
Mhm.
get so you got bird droppings, you got
Yeah.
bird etchings, you got, some people
Hard water spots
hard
probably?
water spots out, I mean, that's a given out here. So I
Not
can see
spots,
those.
it's like a layer
Oh
where
yeah.
there's so many of the spots
And
intertwined
the
on
crazy
top of
part
each other.
is it's not that dirty.
Mhm.
So they obviously went somewhere and had it washed. That's why he's asking because now he can see the scratches. Okay. So I'm like, "Hey man, if I take these scratches out, this is it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb." I'm like, "'Cause I
Wait,
can't blend this whole
if he had it washed, you're the second person he's asked.
100%,
He got it washed and he goes, "Wait, these weren't here before."
100%." So I'm like, "Hey man, I can't feather this in, right? Like there's no making the area bigger where I mean, if any of the door was left unsanded, it would have stuck out like a sore thumb. That's how bad it was." So I said, "Hey, I can definitely fix these for you. Bring it to the shop, I can fix them. But you're gonna be so unhappy when they're fixed because the rest of the car is just sort of like, not gonna look like that. Not gonna look so clear and so easy to see how beautiful the paint is." And he's like, "Well, how bad is the rest of the car?" And I go, "Fuck,
Hmm.
here we go." So look, man, I'm pretty particular. So it's not really fair to be on my scale. He goes, "No, you can tell me." I'm like, "Okay. It's not good." I said, "It's in pretty bad shape, man." I said, "The thing is, I'm looking at your roof. It maybe another summer or 2, and you're gonna start seeing like repaint situation." And he just like turned
What?
ghost white.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Crazy.
"Look, man," and I try to tell people this about, Phoenix parts of Southern California, even parts of Florida, all these places that get tons of sun, the protection of paint's really not an option here because you can have a very expensive car. Most people don't put their stuff in the garage, as you know, in most neighborhoods now. It's taken a beating. And you put the bird etchings, you put the hard water spots, you put all of these different things, Marty, and it just starts to eat clear coat because those UV rays get so harsh. It'll just peel paint off. I see it all the time out here. So, and again, it's just a matter of there's 300 plus days of sun more than anything, right? So I'm like, hey man, like you really need to think about this. Then he opens the door and I see the interior and I go, oh my
Hold on,
God.
but he wasn't like a hoarder, like, right? Like
No, no, no,
he
no.
didn't have like a ton of trash and like.
No, a ton of trash, no, but trash. Okay. We know what I'm saying there. Not a ton of trash.
But you've seen those, right? Where you're like, how
100%.
are they sitting in the car? And you're
100%.
like,
Not that.
those are the wild ones, I think, where people. I think that disaster details are wild, but the
Mm.
disaster details where they've gotten the hoarder,
Yeah.
that's
Well, they
insane.
have like
Like
fast food bags and they got like, cans.
piled up to the window. Have you seen one in real life?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. It's
have you?
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Like, I'll stop and look. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I stop and look, and I'm like,
Hey,
this
and
is
sometimes they might be in the car, and you're just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna look. I don't. This
good
is
night.
crazy." Like,
I'm borderline take a picture with
yeah,
them in the
yeah,
car.
but
I don't care.
yeah,
Like,
just so you know
look
what
what
I'm
this
looking at.
person has.
Yeah. Um. So I look at the interior, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is some work." He goes, "Well, I thought I could have some of your guys come out. I know I see your guys come in the neighborhood from time to time. They stop at my house or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, this'll have to be at my shop. My guys aren't. They can't spend this kind of time in a day. We're
Tan
talking about,
interior, dark interior.
the mix. So you got light seats, you got black plastics, right? So you got the mix. Not good. And you could see in the cup holders, things are stuck in there. You know what I mean? Not a
Mm.
hoarder, but dirty. And I go, "Look, man, we're talking about 20 hours of work on the exterior and interior, and I'm just shooting a number." And he just like turns ghost white. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "My guy, this is in bad shape." So I realize I can't get through to him. He doesn't know what I'm saying, and I understand that. Okay, I'm pretty understanding. I think you are. There's levels to all of this, and if you're at the beginner level, you don't know, right? You just don't know.
Oh, it's very true. Very true.
So I go, "Hey, man, you saw I got a newer car, right?" I said, "Not newer, meaning it's a 2003, but I want to show you something." So we walk back down to my house. I hit the button. I take him to my side of the car. I said, "Nobody else gets in the car really, but I have not vacuumed this car for weeks at a time. Brown interior, brown floor mat." I said, "Check it out." He literally looks at me and goes, "I get it now." I said, "Hey, man, I said, I want you to understand. I would tell you if I was doing something to it every day or I said, but you got to understand, like, this is the difference." And I said, now the time it would take to get you back to factory fresh, you're talking about a lot of work, two bodies in there. Would two bodies take 20 hours to do this car? I want everybody to understand. No. But if one person did it, that's a lot of real estate. You're polishing the roof. You're talking about two-step correction on everything. Okay. Heavy two-step correction. And if that doesn't work, you're talking about rotary, mid-step, final step. You're talking about some work just on the exterior. You haven't even touched the Jolly Ranchers that are stuck everywhere or whatever candy they're eating and dropping on the floor. And so you're talking about real time. And he's like, "What are you thinking?" I'm like, "Buddy, you're for us, you're in the four figures for real, not like barely." And you're talking about three and a half, $4,500 worth of work. And he just like, he goes, "I can't believe," and then he did the dad thing. He goes, "My family and my kid." I said, "I hear you, man. I gotcha. I also can see the car you drive over here, not exactly spotless. I get that your family's in this one, and I use that excuse a lot, so I'm totally with you there. You use it, everyone listening uses it. But Marty, it was we're getting to a point also where he kinda tells me, he's like, "This car needs to last me because, this kinda costs me a lot of money." And, I think he's talked to trade-in and gotten a little bit of a reality check on his trade-in value. I do this for a living, so I think that that's what I'm hearing. And I go, "Yeah, man, we can kinda do this in stages. We don't have to do everything. You don't have to eat the whole bill up front, so let me know." But I also, kinda want people who take this for granted to understand, I just start to feel bad because I don't think somebody like him's trying to do the wrong thing. I don't think they're trying to destroy their car. I just think they don't know. And now you're talking about manpower's as expensive as it's ever been. Everything's so heightened and so expensive. When they start hearing the dollar amounts, you're like, yeah, man, this is what it is. Like, it's no longer me being able to charge what I used to charge. I mean, costs are up 40 and 50% in some cases, on just certain, labor and things like that. Like, you got to understand. And he was really cool about it, but boy, I hate having those conversations.
Yeah, it's terrible to kind of explain to somebody, well, you actually are kind of filthy, my guy. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's horrible. Horrible feeling.
what? I've talked with you about some neighbors, and publicly I've talked about it, but behind the scenes I've talked about neighbors who, I don't judge. I don't even actually say anything back to them when they show me how they wash their car or what they use
Yeah, because you gotta
to
see these
wash in their
people.
car,
You gotta
and
see
I
these
just have to
people.
let them keep going. Like,
Yep. You
I'm
gotta
not
see
going to
these
judge them. I
people.
can just appreciate the fact that they're trying to clean them, because you're right. At this point, where we're at in April of 2025, a lot of people starting to really go, hold on, I got to tighten that belt. I haven't tightened belts in years,
Yep. It's a
years.
good way of
We
putting it.
thought this vote was going to save us, but it might save something later. We got to trade some hardships for right now, which is sort of their point. Like, hey, we got to make do for the past years and years
Yeah,
of
and look, by the
it's
way,
been
that's
too
that's a
amazing.
hope and pray method. I mean, we're all just we don't have control of that stuff. So you're exactly right. It's been a long time since people have had to uh, tighten their belt, and now they're tightening their belt, and they used to trade in cars to get out of a bad payment, and they're going to the dealership, and dealership's like, "No, you got too much negative equity." And you're going to have people, and remember this, we're talking about 7 and 8 year loans some people have taken out. Now, I didn't ask this guy, it's none of my business, but there's a high likelihood he's on a 6 year, 7 year loan. That's 70% of a decade gone financially. Like, and this is not rare. This is, you talk to the F&I offices at some dealerships, they're like, yeah, we've done a lot of those 84-month, deals. So you look at it and you go, from all the detailing minded people that listen to this, you also have to recognize, I think we're about to have a lot of influx of people that are trying to understand, because they did drive to the dealership. The dealership said, and you could be talking to a 50-year-old, which I think is about what my neighbor is. He's never experienced this. He's never walked to a dealership with good credit, which I'm sure he has because, it looks like he has it. And a dealership go, no, you can cut us a check to get even, and then we can get you a new car. But there's no rolling all this equity into something new, bud. That is now hitting people. For those of you that haven't been there, that has never happened in my career. You were always, now, most people were rolling 10 grand or less into a new car. It was unheard of for many, 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 many years in the car business for you to roll 10 grand in negative equity. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying that was pretty rare at an F&I office. You were in some of those offices. They were rolling 5 grand all day. But the 7,500, the 10,500, that was pretty rare. Okay? Much rarer than it is now, people rolling up and going, "I got 23,000 in negative equity." And now the dealership's like, "Sorry, we can't help you." Part of the reason dealerships are struggling to move cars at times because in this infrastructure, they've always been able to roll negative equity. Now banks are, yeah, we're not doing that. You're not rolling Jimmy's, $23,000 into another car. That we can't finance that. And so many of us, probably as busy season kicks off here for a lot of people, you're going to have people come and have the conversation for the very first time, which is this guy. He's never had this discussion in his 50 years on the planet with a guy like me. He's never thought about it. He's never had to think about it. And now, for the first time, he is having to do it. And it's awkward. And you try to be as understanding as you can. You try to be as gentle as you can. But at times, when you got to just say how it is, there's no, you're taking the gloves off and going, okay, man, I got to just kind of tell you what this is.
And so what'd you do? Did you close them down? Did you get them signed up for that $4,000
So
detail and
what I
regular
think we're
weekly
gonna do,
maintenance, you know?
he knows that his paint has to be handled. So he texts me later that night and he's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna figure out a time to get the exterior handled because I know I need some protection on it. I looked at the roof." He must have went online and looked at what I said oxidation was and like, yeah, I can't have that. Because I told him the only other thing I can do, man, is wrap it for you. Like once it goes, I can wrap but the paint's gone. You're gonna have it painted, or I'm gonna have to wrap it. So I will say this: if you do handle these conversations with a little bit more understanding that they don't know, you do tend to get business out of it. May not be that minute, but they are going to. Most good people are going to come to their senses and go, "Okay, I got to do something here."
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't go for the hard close, but more of letting them know what problems they're
But
getting
uh,
into.
also, dude, I got to see the guy. So
Mhm,
I may have
mhm.
handled it a little differently at my shop. To my neighbor, it's like, okay, man, I don't need this to turn awkward. Okay. So for all of you out there, don't make your neighborhood awkward. Okay. I know some of you might be in that situation. That's just a bad move.
Yeah, you know what? Don't make the internet awkward and go to the hyperclean specialist group where we got a lot of great people. That's what you ought to do too. Now, it is fun seeing more and more people interact there. The PLPs that everybody keeps finding. It is the ultimate thing that you've kind of put out for everybody to keep finding, and it's a lot of fun, isn't
Yeah,
it?
100%.
It's a lot of
It's
fun.
great. I love it.
It's a lot of fun. So we'll see everybody over in the specialist group.
All right, guys.